Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
All right, welcome back to another exciting episode. We are the Mega Pint of Community Radio. We are audience of one, Wednesdays, 10 a.m. right here on Conroe's 106.1 and 104.5. Also available at irlonestar.com, YouTube, Facebook, podcast, all that good stuff. I am Andrew. Sitting next to me is the man who rode in a motorized suitcase to the studio.
That's true.
Dick Schisler. How is that?
Those things can haul.
I know.
Yeah, I took it to the shop, got the governor off, getting off-wheel tires put on.
Yeah, they do come with little small tires on them.
So when I go to the airport, I want to put a bumper on it so you just push people out of the way.
Like a grill guard.
Yeah, a grill guard on my, my suitcase.
You know what you need to put on it? It's one of those train horns. Have you ever seen those train horns?
Have you seen the train horns on like DeWalt drills?
What?
Yeah, it's like a custom
You're
mod.
talking about a drill?
Yeah, like a drill, and that's what's used to pump the air, and it's like real loud.
Well, you
pretty
could use
crazy.
that. Yeah, you could use that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh. Is it a one-seater still, or did you get it modified?
Oh, no. Holly just gets on my lap. So I guess technically it's a two-seater if you count my lap as a seat. But yeah, what's going on, man? You doing good?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. I think I probably needed one of those motorized suitcases this past week.
Yeah, you travel. I've only flown like one time, so I don't ever really want to do that again.
Yeah,
so.
I've flown several times just in the last month. It's been crazy. But yeah, so apparently, you know what? Hold on, guys. PSA. We need to do a PSA. We're going to do our very first PSA. Yeah, so apparently when you go to reserve a rental car, this does not necessarily guarantee that there's going to be a car there available to you. I don't know if you're aware of this fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so many cars in the world, man. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
They don't make it for
and
you.
If this sounds like a Seinfeld episode, that's because this exactly is a Seinfeld episode. So apparently, my coworker Tim, he went to go reserve a rental car from the airport online, and it told him there were no cars available.
At least they're up front.
Right. Okay. So we get to the airport there in Grand Rapids, and we take a taxi that costs like $50 some odd to get to our hotel. Well, that evening we want to go out to eat, and we go to get an Uber, and they keep canceling. It's like, man, this is terrible. Let's see if we can rent a car from another location. Right? Let's try instead of the airport. So I go online, I find a location that's like 3 miles away from the hotel. Go to book the car. Says it's available. When do you need to pick it up, Mr. Belshner? Oh, well, I'm going to pick it up at 9 a.m. and blah, blah, blah. Perfect. I reserve the car. I get the email stating that, your car has been reserved, blah, blah, blah. And down at the very bottom, it says, do you need a ride to this location? I said, as a matter of fact, I do. What a great company. They're going to give me a ride over and everything. This is great. So I called the number and I said, yes, I just made a reservation and I'm going to need a ride over to your location. She said, yes, Mr. Belshner, I see your reservation. Unfortunately, we don't have any cars available.
Okay.
I said, no, perhaps you misunderstood me.
What's going on in this town, man?
Perhaps they misunderstood me. I already have a reservation. She said, yes, we see your reservation. However, we won't have any cars available until Thursday evening.
Okay.
It's Monday evening. And I'm like, what the heck? So apparently, the system that allows you to rent cars is not actually hooked up to the inventory of what's available. But at the airport, I guess it is, which makes sense because if you're coming into town and you don't have a car, that could be problematic. But if you're renting from one of the other locations, doesn't always mean there's going to be a car available.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you pay money?
No, I had not.
Then what are you upset about?
We didn't have a car, Dick.
Yeah, but if I put money down, I'd be upset. But then,
I'm guessing that if that had been the case, they probably would have reimbursed me.
See, what I was really hoping for at the end of the story is like, oh, we don't have a car that you chose, but we do have this really cool Viper. And it's going to cost you $700 a day, and it's like
I just would have expensed it on the company, no problem. Yeah, no, but apparently there were no rental cars available anywhere in Grand Rapids for the entire time I was there.
Just that company though.
No, we tried several.
Was there like a furry convention going on or something?
I think that's exactly what it was.
That's usually what happens. Furries are in town. There's no cars.
There are no cars.
There's no cars.
It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Okay. Cool.
But you know, I think it might actually help if we have somebody here to help us out that might know a little bit about traveling.
Well,
and
that's
traveling
later.
issues.
We'll get to him in a bit. I got to tell you what I was doing. How about that?
Okay, yeah. What were you doing?
I just enjoyed the weekend. It was nice. The weather was good. I went to that Libation Creation Festival that one of our shows put on over at B52.
Nice.
It was
yes.
very interesting. So there's a lot of people making mead in the world. There's a lot of people making wine. I had no interest in that. And I was like, cool.
I don't buy
good,
that for
good
one
for you
second.
guys. And it's kind of weird because people are so passionate about that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you just boil honey. It's like, ugh, like what? But then you know what they had there though? I've never seen. You ever seen those people who like climb ribbons and they do like acrobat stuff off ribbons?
No.
You know what I'm talking about, like Cirque du
Oh,
Soleil?
Cirque du Soleil.
Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
What-
yeah. I've seen
well,
that.
They were doing it, and one of our show, you know, Cindy Cochran's show. She calls me. She's like, "Hey, I can't find B52. Can you help me?" Next thing I know, she has her camera out and she's watching a guy do pole maneuvers, and it's so funny watching Cindy do that because her face is just like, "This man is big and he's dancing on a pole." And she has her camera out, like and she
Yeah.
it was so funny. I see her across the way doing this, and then she texts me, "Look what I'm watching," and she sent me the video, and I go, "Is this a pervert thing?" Like,
And this is at B52.
this is at B52.
Oh man.
But
Wasn't aware.
it was fun though. I shout out to those guys. If you haven't been to B52 here in Conroe, it is probably one of the coolest locations.
It is.
And you know what the strangest thing was about the whole thing? I had a note on my car that said I blocked somebody in.
Well, did you block somebody? in?
I looked around, and if you've ever been to B52, you're parking in the woods.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's motorcycle people there, and I go, "Hey, was I blocking somebody in? I had found a note," and they're like, "No," and I was like, "Yeah, because I'm right by a tree, so like I couldn't block anyone in because I'm literally in front of
Yeah.
a tree." So I was really worried if I
Shoulda-
did, because I don't usually like doing that to people, and I was like, "Where?"
Should have drove the suitcase in, man.
I didn't have the off-wheel tires.
Oh, yeah,
So-
you do need them for there.
But yeah, if you haven't been to B52s, you should definitely. It's a family-friendly environment, and it was fun, man. They had a lot of cool people were doing the IV stuff. The what do you call it? The
Whoa.
the vitamin stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Like I'm walking around and I see these people in chairs, and they're like, I'm like, what is going on right now?
Is that to counteract all the alcohol
I
perhaps
guess
that they drank?
I mean
I don't know.
that was actually pretty smart, but they charge an arm and a leg for that. It was like $120 just to get like a vitamin bag.
and it's
so-
actually intravenously
Yeah,
administered?
There's a nurse there,
Oh, wow.
and apparently their company they'll come to you.
Oh, I have heard of this.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
But how? I mean, so let's ask this. This is a question we have to ask ourselves. How much is it worth to fight a hangover?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you've got to have intravenous procedures the
worth
next
100?
morning after drinking, you have a drinking problem. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, if I was rich, I would do it. All the time.
Was it really expensive?
Like $120.
you
But that's
said
not.
that's right.
That's if you go to them. Now, for them to come to you, I imagine it's more expensive. But yeah, my wife's a nurse. I always try to encourage her to steal those bags, but she won't. And I was like, because apparently they work like really well. So
I'm going to make a note of that.
yeah. So other than that, it was a good weekend and beautiful weather and
Yeah, it is.
spring
The weather's
training
nice.
baseball. We got March Madness. Watching that. Watch the the Cougars not play basketball. I don't know what they were doing that day, but
Yeah, they lost.
They lost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's get to our guests. I know we have a good show today, and I'm very
Yeah, we don't want to
excited.
keep him waiting any longer. I kind of teased it earlier, but we have a guest today. As I said, someone who might know a little bit about traveling. We have a pilot and an author here, Eric Gaffney. Welcome to Audience of One.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Have you seen those suitcases?
Totally. Yeah. Now, I will say you cannot check it. It's got a lithium battery in it. That's a
Really?
big deal.
So
yeah.
what do you-
So
what
it
are
can
the-
be in the cabin with you, but that's it. They're pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like things are catching on fire with batteries.
So
on them.
Absolutely,
they're
yeah.
absolutely useless then, unless
Well-
they're small enough to carry on, and I
Correct.
would assume they're
No,
not.
they're not.
Well,
Yeah.
think if you're on a smaller airplane.
Oh, like a
And-
private thing, or
Well, private airplane or say a regional jet, there's a potential that you have to gate check your luggage where it has to ride in the back of the airplane.
Right.
That particular luggage would not make it. So, because you
Oh,
can't
no.
have a
I'm
lithium battery.
having a hard time understanding. So, what planes can I put this on if I'm not flying private?
So think of like a 50-seat airplane. Well, if
Yeah.
your smaller markets, say like
They let you-
Houston to Tulsa.
They let you put it on there.
Well, if you're on a smaller airplane that doesn't have the big overhead bins, where you've got to put the luggage in the back of the airplane,
Yeah.
and then they bring it up to you after you arrive at
Yeah.
the destination, then that particular luggage couldn't go into the cabin with you. It'd have to go in the back in the cargo.
But they let you do that.
And no. In that case,
Not
it would
if it
not
had-
be able to
not if
go.
it has that
So
battery.
because it has a lithium battery.
But
in
it sounds
it,
like
so.
you can't take it anywhere then.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
It's
probably not a good
kinda
idea to
limited.
take one of
Then
those.
why are they-
You
why
need,
they
you
sell
need to
those?
modify it and put a gasoline engine in that bad boy.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
there
I
you go.
want to let Eric know I've only flown like 3 times in my life.
In your entire life.
In my entire life.
Wow.
One for my honeymoon, and then one's visiting a friend because I got like a free voucher thing. I was like, cool, I'll go visit you. And then the other time was I won like a raffle, and I got to fly anywhere I wanted. So I went to California, and I wanted to take pictures of the trees.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I rented a car, and I had a car.
Yeah. Wow. Brag.
But yeah, so when we're talking about pilot stuff, I have no idea. I love flying though.
Well, then
I
you
love
probably are gonna have lots of
the
questions.
sensation of being in the air. Like I love that. I could do that all day. My buddies who are pilots are like, you want to fly and pay $500 for a cheeseburger? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that's very common. It used to be the $100 hamburger, but now it's $500.
Yeah, it's really. You ever heard this term?
I have no idea
So
what you
like
guys are talking
people
about.
in pilot school or wherever you call it, they have to get their hours. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll get their buddies and be like, hey, everyone chip in. We'll fly to like the nearest town that has a diner or something. So
Mm-hmm.
you're just literally flying there to get the hours, eating an expensive cheeseburger, then flying back.
Well, the burger itself is probably normal price.
Correct.
You're
Yes,
paying for.
but the idea is
the flight
they need
there.
hours.
Yeah.
So it's always
No,
like
okay.
so. I never like I didn't want to pay $500 just to go eat a cheeseburger, but I wouldn't mind flying in a jet, like a fighter jet.
Yeah.
Because watching Top Gun, I was like, can you pay money to do that?
If you pay enough money,
Like
I'm
I
sure
want
you
to
do
I
it,
want to
yeah.
get some
yeah,
cheese.
I believe there are actually like companies that will allow you to go up in
Like
in
I want
jets.
to go
It's not
upside.
cheap.
I want to go upside down. I want to do like
You want to
loopy
get
loops.
inverted.
I want to throw up.
You will throw up.
That's what I want to do.
It doesn't take much. Those guys are trained and used to it, but I don't think it takes very much for you to have your insides come out on the
awesome.
G-forces.
But I mean, Eric tries to prevent that because you don't fly
Right.
fighter jets.
No, we don't want the big airplanes doing those kind of maneuvers.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like I said, I've only flown a handful of times. That one time we're going to Charleston, and the pilot said something I would never expect a pilot to say because the weather was somewhat bad, and he like full on just goes, "Yeah, so we are going to be landing in about 20 minutes. The weather is," he says some technical jargon. "We're going to give it a try," and I was like.
No. There
Great
is no
response.
try. Only do. What are you talking about?
I was like, what does that even mean? Like, and I asked my wife, I could never even thought this was a possibility. I go, so if we can't land the plane, where do we go? And because I didn't really think, you can go to another airport. But it's like, yeah, we might go to another airport that's like 4 hours away. And I go, that's extremely inconvenient because we're not going to Charleston. That's where we were supposed to go.
But they were going to give it a try.
We're to give it. Well, I loved it.
Valiant effort.
I loved it because we landed, and I was like, thank goodness. I didn't know what to do. Like we budgeted to be in Charleston. I was like, we can't rent a car. Like we can't afford that.
So I'm sure you deal with situations like that. Eric,
What did
right?
they
guys have
do?
to-
What is the?
So when he probably says give it a try, doesn't mean that he's going to have to try as hard as
couple
to
of
get
Hail
in.
Marys and say, let's
Yeah,
go
right.
for it.
No, it's probably a visibility thing.
Oh no, I wasn't worried about being unsafe. It was just kind of like,
Sure.
where do you go? Like,
Right. So we have something called an alternate airport.
okay.
And
Well, I know there's probably backup plans of backup
correct.
plans.
So a backup plan, right? So if we're flying somewhere and the weather is forecasted to be low visibility, low clouds, or even strong winds, maybe could be a possibility where we would want an alternate airport. Then our planning will
Yeah.
have another airport that's within reasonable distance, right? That's got weather that will be acceptable, forecasted to be acceptable.
But
better,
what
right?
do, and this is being ignorant, is like, what do passengers do? Like, you're stuck in, say, I think they were saying Charlottesville or something. So I was like, so we're going to be in Charlottesville and then we're on our own? Is that usually how
No, not necessarily. There's a lot of variables. Depends on the airline, right?
how
So-
fancy it is?
But more than likely, you could land and wait for the weather to clear up and then get you.
And they get you on
going,
another
so-
plane or something?
Yeah, you never know though. If the weather doesn't clear up, then they'll have to figure something out to get you.
Well, I was always curious about that because every time I've flown, it's been easy. Never had any problem. Only issue I had, I brought my knife, and I didn't even think about it because I always had a pocket knife.
He's
And-
that guy.
And it was
Knife guy.
It's a special knife. It's like has my name on it. It was a gift. Blah blah blah. And the TSA guy was like, you can't bring that on. I go, you're probably right. What do I do? And he's like, you can mail it. And they had they had the whole system. And I was like, sorry,
They deal
I
with people like you all the time,
yeah.
I guess.
Oh yeah. I was just told. didn't think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I don't fly, I don't go through metal detectors every day, so it's not like my lifestyle. But I was always amazed how just the infrastructure of airports work, and then the logistics of airplanes. And everyone who I know flies a lot always complains about it. But every time I go, I was like, yeah, it's cool. Like, this is a fun thing to do. But I guess if you're at an airport stuck there because of whatever reason, then
And I think if you fly a lot more, just your chances of running into something that may not be exactly according to plan is going to happen. If you've only flown 3 times.
like we're taxiing for 4 hours.
Something like that.
I mean, as long as you have a bathroom, I'm cool, right?
Well, Eric, we wanted to have you on today because, we have lots of questions about aviation in general because, let's be honest, that's a pretty cool job.
It
right?
is.
I don't know that I've ever known a pilot. But
And the power of flight is amazing.
But also, you most recently here have written a book, a children's book, called Eric
Oh, look, it has an airplane.
Flies High. Now, in full disclosure here, Eric, I've only gotten through like the first couple chapters.
I got the audiobook.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you if there was a Cliff Notes version available. But anyways, tell us a little bit about this this book and what caused you to want to write this.
Yeah, so I call it my COVID project, right? Back in 2020, but just about 3 years ago, right?
Were airplanes flying COVID?
Slowly. Yeah,
Some.
we had.
I don't remember.
Well, wait, they weren't flying slowly.
Yeah, well, yeah, the airplanes were flying normal speed,
Okay.
right? But yeah, no, kind of a reduced schedule, right?
Oh, okay.
But I found myself with more time off, just like everybody in the whole world, right? So my wife, Natalie, she said, this is a great time to write your book. You're home with the kids, and we got almost the whole month of April off, April 2020. Well, at the time, I still have 2 young kids, but my kids were younger, and the weather's nice, and I'm a homeowner, so I have no time off, really. So I practically had no time because the book that she was really referencing was kind of an autobiography, something, the story of my career, my life. I was born without my right hand, so I'm a one-handed airline pilot, and I fly without a prosthetic. So my story is a little unique, right? In terms of being pilots have to have a medical to fly. We have to do a yearly medical.
Yeah.
And with the doctor, right? So that makes us medically fit to fly. So I have to carry a special issuance medical. So my pathway to becoming a airline pilot is rather unique.
Mm-hmm.
So the book idea was to kind of tell that story kind of as a motivational story. So again, I didn't really feel like I had the time at the time to write that long of a story or long of a book. But one night it kind of dawned on me. I said I could put this into a kids format.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like the idea, which I didn't really click in my mind until after I wrote the book. But it's kind of like the idea of Finding Nemo, the Disney story, right? Nemo.
There are some similarities there.
Correct. Yeah. Nemo in the story, in the movie, right, has what they call lucky fin, and his lucky fin, he wants to prove that he can swim as well as the other fish. And that's the premise of it.
I missed that.
You never saw the movie?
I did. I don't remember that at all.
That's kind of the whole premise of the movie.
I thought they got lost.
Well, he does, but only because he's, I don't want to say mischievous, but he's getting out. He's wanting to swim. He's wanting to do things, and he ends up doing things that his parents told him not to do and leaving the cove or wherever they're at.
Right.
And
He
ends up
swam
getting
out to
lost.
touch the boat, right?
Yeah.
To prove.
yeah.
And on his way back in, he got picked
No,
up.
it's coming back. It's coming
Yeah.
back.
Or Disney stories. So anyhow, Eric the airplane, right?
I like
You
this.
can see in the picture that his right wing is shorter than his left wing. I do a lot of school visits, and I like to look at the.
I want to see it.
I like to look at the kids and say, imagine that you run around. Every kid's done this. You pretend to be an airplane. You put your hands out side to side. Well, my right wing is shorter than my left wing. So that's the design of Eric the airplane. His right wing is shorter, and the story is how he goes on to learn how to fly, and he wants to fly just like the other airplanes.
Awesome.
And so
well, you just spoiled the whole thing. Like I said, I hadn't finished it yet.
Well, that was the
no,
Cliff
I'm kidding.
Notes. You asked for it.
Yeah,
so.
no. I will say this is the last book that I read. I got all the way through it, cover to cover.
Well, the audience who is either watching on Facebook or whatnot, we have a link to purchase the book.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where, if I was so inclined to purchase this, where might I buy this book at?
It's on Amazon, and I also offer them through an individual site through Square that I could provide a link for as well. That way I can personalize them. I have stickers and coloring sheets for kids that I like to provide with the book as well. And that way I can personalize the book. If you go through Amazon as well, that's an easy way to buy it. And, 2 days later it'll be there.
So you kind of touched on wanting to be a pilot, but what made you want to write a book in general?
So the limb different community, we kind of call kids or anybody, right, with a what we call limb difference. So that's that's the term that we're looking at with individuals with it could be an upper extremity, it could be a lower extremity, missing a foot or a leg.
Yeah.
So that's the limb different community. In fact, there's a really great community of them out there called the Lucky Fin Project. Good plug for them. Speaking on behalf of Nemo, right?
Okay.
So Lucky Fin Project, there you have great outreach for kids and individuals with the lucky fins, right?
Yeah,
a
but
limb difference.
how many of them are pilots, though?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. There's actually quite a few now.
Really? Okay,
and that's kind of
Okay,
a side
cool.
story. Besides the book has helped me have a good avenue into mentoring.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things I get to do is I'll get a lot of outreach through my social media pages, or they'll reach out to me and say, "Hey, I was born without my hand." And never in a million years I think I could fly airplanes.
Right.
But you're doing it. So, how are you doing it? And please, what advice would you have for
Have
me?
you ever had anybody, as they're boarding the plane, look over and you kind of see the double take?
Oh,
They're
totally. The
and they're
double
like-
take is all
And you see maybe
very
they
common.
tap their wife or husband like, are we sure about this? That happens.
Well, I've never had anyone doubt because
But he's not a woman, so he's better off.
Come on now. Come on now.
You don't know that's like a real thing. They did a study on that.
Well,
They really did.
Well, they did.
They really
But
did do
they
a study.
are-
It's crazy the bias people have when they judge people, especially in
are
pilots.
you talking about a female pilot?
Yeah,
I thought
like
you were
they
talking about
really.
the passenger.
Oh no, they really
Oh.
judge people based off they look at him like,
Well, last flight, I had a female pilot. I didn't think twice about it, but I did notice it, and I thought, that's cool.
No,
Because
that's
for
phenomenal,
whatever, for whatever reason, I don't know why there's not more female pilots. It's not like they're not capable. I guess it's just maybe not an industry that they're drawn to.
It's not the norm.
Yeah, it's not the
And
norm. But I
it's-
saw one. I
but-
didn't even think twice.
Well,
I
that-
did notice.
I'm just
but
li-
that's interesting.
people who listen to the show
Oh, you know what
think
though?
I'm
That
kind
doesn't
of a bigot,
surprise
but
me.
it's fine.
No. You're just citing a study. I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about the passengers.
Oh
but-
no.
No, it's great. I see a lot of stories. There's little girls, right, who will see a female
Yeah,
pilot in the cockpit,
absolutely.
and they'll go up front and say hi, and it's wonderful because girls need that representation.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. That's what my book's about.
I
Representation.
did see a
right?
mother-daughter team last year had made history because they were the first mother-daughter team to fly
Yes.
a commercial airline. Yeah,
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People who are flying are crazy. You gotta have the little crazy in you.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because what's amazing to me about airplanes, especially with technology going so fast, it's like you still have the ability to fly planes 50 years ago, correct? Like, are there certain licenses?
Yeah, so we have a type rating. It's a
Yeah.
pilot certificate, right? And yeah, I mean the airplane that I'm on now, I'm on an older airplane that was built a long time ago, and a lot of old technology.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of airplanes that have very new technology, but it's all the same thing, right?
Well,
It's all the
because
same
my wife was telling
concept.
me, because her grandfather flew, and there's a type of, like, he personally flew, not like a job. And there's a way to get rated where, like, you actually know how to look at the stars almost. It's a different kind of rating. It's not
Right.
just, I can pull up on a stick and go this way. It's like you actually know how to read.
Yeah,
And
I can't do that.
but you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, that's
Well,
yeah, back way before GPS and
Yeah, there's some
and
type
modern.
of, it's some airplane thing. Like, it's
Yeah,
a step above.
celestial-
Instrument rated.
Celestial
Well, no, not
navigation.
just the stars. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like it's different reading instruments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean even
it's not
back,
one size fits all. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
right. Yeah, we have old maps, VFR maps that have VFR being visual flight rules, right? So in other words, you're looking at the ground and navigating.
Yeah.
So that's how you start flying. You can follow a road, or you can look for landmarks or certain obstacles or certain things that are on the map that you can visually identify from the air, and that's how you can navigate. That's how we all started, right? And then nowadays with GPS, you're just following the pink line, just kind of like the blue line on a Google Maps, for example, right?
How
And,
offended?
Don't make it that simple though.
Yeah,
we
how-
know it's difficult.
Well, it's
I was gonna say, how offended do you get when someone says, "I mean, these new planes, they can
they
practically
literally
fly themselves."
They literally have a button called
Yeah, I mean,
autopilot.
yeah, they literally fly themselves. Do you kind of like? I'm like, all right, dude.
yeah, I do get a little offended. You're
Yeah,
right.
come
Because
on.
I mean, let's be real; those pilots are still extremely.
Well, that's what I'm
trained
saying.
and
Like
highly
you're trained to the
qualified.
point where like you know how to do not just this one cockpit. Like you can go into other cockpits and
True.
And to me, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. So we typically stay on the same airplane, but each airplane may have a few differences.
Yeah, you should see me get in another person's car, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know how they work the cruise
where's-
control.
Where's this? How's this work? And but planes are cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
So there's a lot of training, right?
Yeah.
You think about your driver's training here in the United States. It's very minimal, right? You hop in the car with dad or mom, and
Yeah.
it's just a little bit here and there, and then you go take a driver's test, and that's it. That's all the training you've ever done. You take a written test, you take a driving
And then you're in
test,
Houston.
and then boom, that's it. There's no recurrent training. Whereas pilots, there's a ton of initial training, there's a ton of testing, and then there's continuous retraining, requalification training. So there's a lot more look at, in other words, the technical features that are involved.
Wow. So I have to imagine when you tell people, you first meet people that, I'm a pilot, how many of the guys respond this way? Yeah, I want to be a pilot.
Almost everybody.
Yeah, I figured.
I'll say,
because I think anytime I've ever seen anybody say, you're like, yeah.
What's that new movie coming out with Dennis Quaid?
I was thinking about being a pilot.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's like he's family and the pilot has like a heart attack or something straight up.
Yeah.
And then what's great is it's like a low budget movie looking, so the family has to learn to fly the plane.
Oh gosh.
But the whole time there's this old man like passed out. I was like,
that happens.
That's kind of it's a true story based off a true story.
It is based on a true story.
But in the trailer, like, so they're flying this whole time. This dude's dead, just hanging out right there. Like, it's creepy. But
that'd be tough.
But that's the common response, and that's when you just look at him and go, "But you're not."
No, I don't. I get this a lot. I say, I always wanted to be a pilot, but my vision wasn't good enough.
Right.
Well, that would be a thing that was common in the military. If you didn't have 20/20, you were out.
Correct.
I think they're looking for people now.
It's changed a little bit. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force.
You can't even take Adderall.
At the time, no, it's really strict.
Yeah.
And at the time, you had to have perfect vision, which I didn't. I had an astigmatism, and they wouldn't even allow for corrective lenses or the surgeries because they weren't good enough back then. This is 25 years ago. Yeah. But now I think they have loosened up a little bit to where you can actually have corrected vision. But at the time,
you can have robot eyes.
Which is funny when I think back on it. Like, I probably couldn't have flown jets anyways. But as a young, naive teenager, I wanted to get in a jet and go, man.
I'm more of a passenger. Like, I'm 100%.
Says the guy who's flown 3 times.
Well, no, I'm
I'm a great passenger.
Like, I enjoyed the ride, so I'm gonna let people drive.
Yeah.
Like, even driving in general, I don't even like doing. It's like I'd rather have someone else drive me, especially if it's in a fast car. Like, yeah, go fast.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, man, I've got a bunch more questions. I think this is a good place to take a break. We're going to pause. We come back. I've got a couple more aviation questions for you and then a couple of just general funny stories I wanted to share. So we'll be right back. Audience of One with Andrew and Dick. Audience of One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. right here on Conroe's 106.1 and 104.5. Listen to the brain droppings of local hosts, me, Andrew Belshner, along with the jewel of Montgomery County radio, Dick Schisler. Topical musings, news stories, oddities, or just weird conversations that we normally have with ourselves, all mixed together with the occasional guest. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. All right, we are back, Audience of One. We are continuing our interview with pilot and author Eric Gaffney. Thanks again for joining us, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So
that was so boring.
This is going to be.
Part.
It really was.
It was.
Being a pilot, whatever. So this is going to be the part of the show where I ask really dumb questions about airplanes and basic flight. Okay, because I'm an idiot. The first dumb question. Dumb question number 1. Why the heck do you guys fly so high? Is it specifically to get into the jet stream? What's going on here?
Yeah, get into the jet stream. Our engines perform better at high altitudes. We get better, gas mileage, if you will. Nice. And also you can go faster up there. The air's thinner, so the airplane can travel through the air faster over the ground
and
faster,
there's not birds.
I should say.
I'm dumb.
There's not birds up there.
Yeah, probably a lot less.
That's true, too, yeah. Less weather, right? We're typically above the thunderstorms up there, or we have a better chance to go around the thunderstorms up there.
So do certain planes fly at different heights, or is it more based on the distance of the trip itself?
Yeah, some airplanes can go higher.
That was dumb question number 2.
No, that's a great question. Some airplanes can go higher. Some fly lower, like if you have a propeller-driven airplane.
Yeah, no thanks.
It probably, it can maybe not necessarily go as high as a jet airplane. So a jet airplane may fly into the mid upper 30s or even low 40s. Some private jets, smaller jet airplanes, can fly into the 40,000s. Your fighter jets that we were talking about earlier, right? They can go way up high, 50, 60,000.
What's the atmosphere at?
It varies, right? Day to day. You get into the next level at
What's the space?
Upper 30. Space is way up there.
Is that 100,000?
Yeah, somewhere.
I'm going to say hot dog. I have no idea.
I was curious. I had to have like a reference. So
Yeah.
You can watch a shuttle launch.
when you-
Watch a like a SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
You can watch their onboard cameras, and it's really neat. You can see the altitude.
Oh.
I believe it's in meters when they launch, but you can watch
Is that
it as
European?
something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that.
You'd have to have a calculator next to you while it's doing it, but anyhow, you can watch the cameras, and then you can obviously watch as it goes into space. It's really neat.
So how high have you gotten?
The highest I've been is 41,000.
Okay. You want to go higher?
No, I'm good right there. So,
Really?
I mean,
Wow.
that's as high. My airplane can go a little bit higher than that, 42. But
What happens if you go
I
higher?
was just about to ask what happens.
airplanes, they're only designed to go up to a certain height. The airplane can only design to be up, can only handle being at a certain altitude. But once it gets so high, the air's so thin, the wing isn't designed to fly that high. So it just couldn't go any higher.
Yeah, because just the general principles of lift, right, for an airplane, which is what gets an airplane up in the air, it starts to sort of lose its ability
Correct.
to stay
Yeah.
up because there's not
Yeah.
enough.
It's less effective.
Yeah, less effective.
Yeah, you start running out of air. The higher you go, the less air there is. The air is thinner.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
So, okay, maybe the answer is neither, but what is in your mind more dangerous, taking off or landing? And I'm going to give my guesstimate
Why
here
would
that
you even say
I'm
dangerous in those words, man? We
which
don't wanna
one is
freak people
more
out.
risky? Which one is more difficult? I'm going to say neither is particularly dangerous or risky. There, covered my bases. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say that landing is probably less dangerous because you've already got speed on the plane, you've already got energy or whatever. So if something were to go wrong, you could get back into the air more quickly rather than trying to generate taking off. That's as good as I get.
Good answer.
Well, it was my answer. I don't know if it was a good one.
Well, I can't. I wouldn't want to be the one to say which one is more dangerous, right? Because I in my mind, none of it's dangerous,
Right.
Are there risks involved? Sure, right? And that's what we as pilots do. We manage that risk, and we try to, we know the certain parameters for landing, winds, and weather, and what have you. So sure, yeah, you got high energy coming in to hit your controlled crash, right? You're hitting the ground with a big airplane, and that's not a controlled crash. It's not a good answer, right? But you're bringing a big airplane out of the sky and bringing it to a stop on the ground. So there's a lot of risk there.
And how fast are you moving when you're touching the ground initially? How fast that plane's still moving?
Somewhere around 100, and depends on the airplane, right? So each airplane is very, very different, and also in each individual airplane, it depends on the weight of the airplane. A higher weight would mean a little bit of a higher speed because you need more airflow over the wings coming in to keep the wing flying. So average, say, in a big jet like I fly, somewhere in the 130 miles per hour to, say, 140 miles per hour.
Slow.
So
Wow,
something
it's
like
really
that.
slowed
so
down
yeah,
a
we can
lot.
get slowed down. When people think jet airplanes are doing 500 miles an hour, right? We're certainly not doing that down low to the ground. That's when we're talking upper level.
That answers my question, though, because I swear sometimes it feels like, and you're just basing on what you see outside the window, like, man, we are cooking right now. Like, this seems faster than normal. Maybe that particular flight needed a little more speed when you were landing. So it's not all uniform.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
And another thing is these are speeds that we're flying airplanes based on airspeed. So imagine if you had a 20 mile an hour headwind directly into you. So let's take 130 miles an hour as an example. That would be our airspeed. What would you see out the window, though, would be about 110 miles an hour ground speed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So imagine if there was calm winds.
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
now the calm wind, same airspeed, 130 knots or 130 miles an hour. What you would see out the window would be 130 miles an hour because there's no wind now at that point. So big variable. That's why when you see the Red Bull, or I don't know if it's Red Bull, but you'll see a stunt plane, say at an air show, come and land on top of a school bus. If the school bus was parked and then it landed on top of it, that would be really impressive. But
Right.
it's never parked, right?
It's moving.
What is it doing? It's driving down the runway. Why? Because it's generating essentially an airspeed over that top of that school bus or the landing site. So now that airplane can come in and almost match that speed.
Mm-hmm.
And when it touches down, it has way less ground speed to bleed off, to stop.
Yeah.
So essentially their ground speed at touchdown.
It's like
is
telling how the
great.
magic trick was done. back
Yeah,
there.
I just ruined it for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
It's still cool.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
Helicopters are cool too.
Yeah, you ever flown a helicopter?
No, well, I've flown in the front seat of one. I got to fly
So
on
different, though,
on a
isn't it?
life flight one time as a ride along. And yeah, completely different concept.
Yeah.
And way out of my
creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your wings are moving. And you know
Right, exactly.
well, my wing's moving too, right? But it stays with the airplane the whole time.
Well, like-
Your wing is moving faster than the airplane is.
You go out to the the Conroe Regional Airport here. You can watch touch and goes and they have a Walnut Cafe, and it's a great spot to watch all that stuff. And I remember sitting there watching them. And when I say touch and go, that's a cool term that I know.
Yeah, very good.
So you know what touch and go is?
I do, yes.
So when they're just
Come down, touch, and,
yeah.
and go.
Well, this random dude had a truck, pulls this trailer out, literally pulls the tarp off. It's like a miniature helicopter. And I'm like, is this dude just gonna take off right here? Yep, like right off the trailer.
Incredible.
I thought that was illegal. I was like, that can't be safe. But he just boop gone, and it's just I guess that's his hobby. I've got my trailer, got my helicopter. I'm out of here.
Wow.
So do you have a plane? Do you own a plane?
No.
Do you want to?
That would be, I tell you, I would love to in a perfect world, right? Have my own airplane, go fly and go visit
'Cause
family with.
that's
but
a certain
it's-
class of people that like, and I'm not saying just financially. I mean, it's like the mindset of, yeah, I want to have my own airplane.
It's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
A lot of maintenance.
Yeah, you
a
gotta
lot of
justify
money,
having it.
obviously. Yeah. So financially, it's a big burden, but also time wise and taking care of it. You know.
No, what about those airplanes like the John Denver airplane? Those look crazy. You know, I'm talking about like the single seater.
Yes.
Like that's a propeller one, I think. But
Yes.
those things go pretty fast.
Oh yeah, like the P-51, right?
Yeah.
It's small. You know, just because it has a propeller on it doesn't mean it's slow,
Yeah.
right? You know, P-51 could go very fast, and yeah, they're great and they're very maneuverable. Almost like, you know, you see a lot of what we call aerobatic or airplanes, right?
Yeah.
That are propeller driven, and they can fly upside down and do some really cool tricks and
What-
lots of fun.
What's the chaos like in the sky when it comes to like other airplanes? Because I'm pretty sure there's like a ping system or something. You know, you kind of know where everyone is. Because at any given moment, how many airplanes are in the sky?
Couldn't tell you. A lot,
There's
though.
got to be a lot.
Yeah, and it's really it's actually public knowledge. There's certain tracking like flight
Mm-hmm.
radar apps and websites that you can go and see all the
Yeah, we can
aircraft.
track Elon.
And
Yeah, well, he put a stop to that, I think.
Maybe.
Or tried to.
yeah,
But
it's-
I suppose when you're flying, you can look out the window and be like, hey, look, there's another plane.
There's
Hey,
John.
look,
Totally.
there's another plane over there.
There's Eric.
totally, yeah.
You wave.
I wouldn't know who it is, right? But no, it's
Do you wave?
amazing.
Like people in Jeeps, you know, they give the one
Do
finger
you,
wave.
do you do the
in the
Maverick
sky.
maneuver?
Well, you know, you couldn't wave, right? Because the closest, I will say, the closest you could be is about 1,000 feet apart, because that would be vertically separated,
Yeah.
1,000 feet. And so sometimes we'll flash the lights or something. It's,
Hey, buddy,
it-
stay out of my lane.
Well, yeah, and it's also a great way to say hi, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a great way to increase your visibility.
Yeah.
So that way they see you. If it's nighttime, they'll
I'm
see
a
your
fan
lights.
I'm a fan of visibility on a plane. When I'm just going to throw that out
Then why
there.
are the,
I like.
why
to
are
be
the
seen.
plane windows so tiny?
Well, that's so for you seeing out.
No, I'm talking about for your cockpit. The windows are like.
I
this
will say,
big.
when you walk into an airplane, you look up front. Sometimes they do look a little.
They look
smaller.
small.
However, if you get up in the correct
Oh, in
seat
the
height,
nose, you can see
and you
down
can
the
kind of
nose.
see down the windows a
Okay,
little bit. It's
I get
big
you.
enough, I should say.
And it wraps around too, right?
It
A little
does.
bit.
Yeah, there's all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so last dumb question, I think. Should I be scared of turbulence?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I mean, if there could be turbulence that is severe enough to be scared of. However, you know, almost 100% of the time we're not going to fly through that. Let's say major line of thunderstorms, heavy rain, tornadoes, big squall line. Airplanes are not going to fly through that.
Yeah, you guys
You
try and
might-
avoid it.
Of Correct. You may see an airplane on the radar for some reason going over the top of that or going around it. Ground-based radar versus what we see down here is not the same as what airborne radar is. So what's happening on the ground may be way different from what's happening up. So in other words, they may be going around it, and it looks like they're going through it. But
well, you need to tell that lady that was sitting next to me on the last flight that turbulence is nothing to be scared of. Good grief.
it's a lack of control. People get scared.
Yeah.
I like
and
it.
If it starts bumping, they don't know what's going on.
I would have assumed that third glass of Chardonnay would have calmed her down, but I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I used to commute in the back of airplanes when I lived in Oklahoma. So I'm based here in Houston. So I would go back and forth, right, as a passenger. And if I was sleeping, it was funny. I'd wake up when we land, and we'd have a nervous flyer maybe sitting next to me or near me, and they would say, oh, "You slept through all that turbulence," so I knew everything was fine. So the pilot was sleeping, then everything's fine.
Right.
No, the pilot in the back, right? Not the pilot up front sleeping. But let's make sure we're clear on that.
This is actually a true story. This happened just in the last flight I was in. I'm sitting on an aisle seat, and the two people next to me, they're a couple, and we're getting ready for takeoff or whatever. And she busts out a personal Wi-Fi device, and she sent him. He's connecting to it, and she's opening up her laptop, and they're connecting to it, and they're so pleased with themselves. Like, I'm getting full bars of coverage. And I'm thinking, do they really think that's gonna work when you get up to above, I don't know, a couple thousand feet? Yeah, they did. They really thought it was. And can you imagine their surprise when they got up in the air and they're like, ain't working. I'm like, did you really think that the internet was inside
It's
of that little,
everywhere.
in
It's
that little
everywhere.
device? I'm like, it has to receive a signal and then just sends it out. Everybody knows the internet is in a black box inside of Big Ben. We all know that.
I
but-
wonder if Starlink would work up there.
Oh, because it's satellite?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might.
But they were so mad because it doesn't work once it got up in the air. But
Well,
that was
then-
hilarious.
Actually, I do know Starlink does work up there.
Yeah, I was
because
wondering.
think Delta.
Well, that would work.
I don't know. I think one of the airlines is using Starlink
Okay.
now. I don't know
So
for
there
sure,
you
but
go.
yeah,
'Cause-
we do have Wi-Fi on the airplane.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
well,
but that's
Eric, like,
enabled.
that's a different
that's
device, right?
Yeah, this
Not
was,
what they were
This was
using,
just like
right.
their regular AT&T they brought from their house.
Yeah.
And I think they expected it to work.
Yeah, you know, Eric gets on the PA. It's like, hey, if you want to pay $24, you can get Wi-Fi in the airplane.
Right.
Eric's the one charging you that, guys.
Yes,
just
totally.
so you know, he's the
Yeah,
one.
it goes straight.
It goes straight to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's to
a
fund
rich-
his
yeah.
habit of writing books, by the way. I love the animation in it, by the way.
Yeah, my illustrator, her name's
Illustration, sorry.
Alicia. She did a wonderful job. She's a good friend of my wife's. They used to work together. They were teachers in Oklahoma. And when I approached her with the project, she took it on and just knocked it out of the park. Did a great job. Because I tell people that a children's book is, I think, the most important part of the pictures, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, well,
she
you want
delivered.
to turn the page. That's what the
Correct.
pictures are good. You're going to turn the page, man.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was very proud of her.
So-
it is.
So let's get gritty here, and let's get political about airplanes. Y'all ready for this?
Great.
So, Eric, where do you think airplanes are going to go in the future?
That's a good question.
Like
Like
to
do you-
Mars?
well, I mean, like,
What do you mean?
well, no, it's more of like,
Probably to Houston.
like,
and LA.
is the overall
Yeah.
goal if in your industry going to be like we're trying to get to this place the fastest way possible, but also we're trying to maximize how many people we can get on an airplane and go that fast. Do you think there's ever going to be a point where it's like, this is ridiculous? We go to Doha in like an hour, and you think we can actually get there with airplanes, or you think we have to go another route?
Well, that's a good question because there's a lot of different companies out there pursuing supersonic
Yeah.
flight again. And
Can people even fly that though? Like the average person?
well, yeah, I mean, look at the Concorde back in a long time ago, right? The
Yeah, they
Concorde
stopped making
flew
them.
and it's gone now. It
I don't
flew
even know
for a
what that
while.
is.
The Concorde?
So-
It was the one of the fastest commercial airlines.
So why don't they? Are people having heart attacks on it, or
It
what?
was an old technology. It had a couple accidents.
It had that
I don't-
interesting front nose
Yeah,
on
it
it.
did, yeah.
It looked like a bird almost. It was cool.
it could fly very fast, right?
Yeah. Very
And it could go very fast. So
for a long
but
time.
that was a long
Across
time
the
for
world, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
long enough, right?
Yeah.
Could go long enough and get you say from like New York to London. I don't know the time, but let's say a few hours compared to 7 hours, and that's a big deal.
Well,
that's a big difference.
That's
so.
what fascinates me about the airline industry is like, 200 years ago, we weren't even thinking of going to London in a day. But now today I can just go to London, and it's like, that's wild to me.
Yeah, it is.
But then, there's so many different types of aircrafts. And then it's like, well, what's the best way? Because like when I go online, you just kind of like accept where you're going. Like you just pay a ticket. But like in your opinion, is like, what's the best airline what is, because you work for an airline, from what I understand, it's probably the best one. So, right.
Well, I'm biased, yeah.
But it's just kind of like the navigating through all these different options for people flying. Like, you pay for baggage or whatever, and it's like the craziest stuff. But what do I do when I go fly on an airplane? What do I do?
Sounds like you've got it down. You just look for the best ticket price, right? Yeah.
What's the best deals? Like, how do I get on for free?
That's a good question. I don't know. You become a pilot, and then you get to travel for free. Yeah. And
Okay.
that's best. That's best I got.
And
or flight attendant. Flight attendant's another great way to travel. Yeah, for free.
Yeah, that's a tough job.
It
I
is.
think.
Yeah.
They're
It is.
constantly serving people and in the air and not at their house. I think that's a pretty tough job.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could.
No, they do a great job, and it's a lot of work. Yeah.
It is. And there's a lot of crazy people on airplanes these days they have to deal with. Oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh.
can't imagine wearing a mask for like more than an hour.
Yeah.
That's gotta be tough.
Well, luckily they
Did
don't
y'all
have that
to
anymore.
wear.
They
You have
don't
to wear a
have to
mask when you're in the pilot.
Not in the airplane. Not in the
Oh,
cockpit.
of course,
Yeah.
rules for you, or rules for me, and not for you. I get it. But let's talk a little bit about perceptions of air flight travel. Andrew, you fly a lot. I don't fly a lot. Do you think it's going to become a normal thing where it's so cheap to fly that everyone can just do it for like $50?
I don't think so.
You don't think it'll ever get that
No,
way?
I mean,
It's going in the other direction, if anything, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've never tickets to me. If ticket costs more than $250 both ways, I'm not going.
Yeah.
But my friends who go all over the world, it's like, yeah, I paid $1,900. I'm like, geez. But then again, you went to Milan, so I guess that's worth it. I guess, but I don't really
Yeah.
know.
You couldn't drive there for that.
Yeah.
Couldn't drive there at all.
I was going to say,
But,
well, I
yeah.
don't think you could do that at all.
But
Well-
yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, everything's so variable. It takes a lot of gas to fly an airplane, right? It takes a lot of moving parts. So I
And
don't think it'd be that cheap. But
Do pilots retire ever?
yeah, we have a
Or they're forced to?
correct. Yeah.
So, but you got the itch to fly still, right? Like you love flying, right?
Yeah, you think though you could fly personally. You could buy an airplane.
Oh, okay.
You could go fly.
But you're not doing that. That's not a long-term goal for you.
It's hard to say. Yeah, that's a little ways away for me.
Well, because the reason I'm asking that is because you get people who have a job that it's like it's so simple as like, you're flying all the time. You get so second nature to it, and then if you stop doing it, like 2 months from then, you're like, well, I need to get up in the air. I want to be up there.
Generally,
Yeah.
what is the 4-stage retirement? I wasn't aware of this.
65 at the
Okay.
moment.
Well, then
Yeah.
you're ready to stop flying
At
at,
that
65
point, yeah,
anyways. You're like,
same
yeah,
here.
I've done this.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't do that to Maverick.
No, yeah. Well, no, he's not 65, though. I think he's in his
I-
early 60s. Although, as
I
we
still
talked
don't
about, he
get
still looks like he's 40.
Well, what's wild to me about that movie is they say like, oh, your age, but like, oh, you can train him, so you can still get an airplane and fly.
It's a movie.
Military's different too. This
Yeah.
is I'm speaking civilian would be 65 right now. Yeah.
So can you be like a private airplane owner and be 90 and fly?
Totally.
Really?
Yeah.
So
now we have again, all pilots have to have
Harrison Ford, he's still flying,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. So you
And
have to have a
landing rough.
medical. You still have to have a medical, but
Oh,
we
so
have
even
different
if
classes.
even if you're a private citizen and you want to be a pilot, you have to do something like what you're doing every year.
correct. Now
Oh,
it's
wow.
there's some different rules that
Yeah.
I don't remember all of them to be honest, but you would and there are different classes.
Yeah.
So a personal like private pilot would have a lower class than say a airline pilot would have. More strict rules, more higher standards, if you
Yeah.
will, for a medical.
Okay, yeah, because that to me is, I want to know what technology is going to do with like flying, because it's going to be so efficient. It's going to be so much
Oh, it's
cheaper.
fascinating. Automation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the automation that's coming out. That things are changing
Yeah.
rapidly, and but still,
I saw
automation
something that,
fails, and that's why we
that
get
United is introducing new airplanes every week or every 2 weeks into their fleet.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, we're bringing on a lot. Yeah.
That's crazy.
What kind of moment in, because you probably don't know this because you don't build airplanes, but like, is there certain moments when technology is so far surpassed the old one where it's like, hey, we're getting rid of jet engines because we have this new engine?
What, nuclear?
I don't know. Because I can't imagine what it's like being a pilot when you're doing propeller stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have jet engines
Yeah.
now. Like, what is that?
Well, it's all going electric.
Because
Oh
that's
yeah, I think
all going
electric's
electric.
the big thing right now.
okay.
So
that's what's going. I don't.
We talked about this last week about getting on a 3D printed airplane. And we both said, no, we're out. We're not getting on a 3D printed airplane because we did a whole segment on 3D printing. I don't know that I would want to get on a battery-powered airplane either. I think I'm wanting the good old-fashioned gas
I'm fine
jet
with it.
fuel.
You're already taking a risk, so why not?
Man, I don't know. Just seems like there's more things that can go wrong, but that's just me.
You're flying.
So you think this is a potential, huh?
I do. I mean, look, the investments are out there. It's in terms of long range
Big are
flights,
batteries
it's hard to say.
though to
It's
power
gotta
that
be pretty
thing.
big, yeah. Now you
Massive.
look at your 8, 9, 10 hour flights. Would they be able to do electric flight? Probably not yet. But
Yeah.
these shorter range
Well, and
flights,
batteries also don't operate the same or keep their same charge at colder temperatures. And once you get up,
You think you know all about batteries, don't you?
yeah, I do.
well,
do.
they'll
They-
power a heater, right, to keep it warm.
Oh, they're gonna have to. Yeah, they're gonna have to. Yeah, somehow.
Well, you know, underneath the
Because isn't it
cockpit,
like
there's
30 below
the
once
little
you get up there?
bicycle. They had a little bicycle.
Yeah, that's where they're getting the power.
They're charging it.
Yeah, that's my job. Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't it like 30 below zero once you guys get up to
Oh,
altitude?
yeah, it's very cold. Yep.
Yeah, it's cold up there, so I can imagine those batteries. They
Yeah.
gotta be.
Why are you against progress?
Only if it's progress.
Yeah.
To me,
True. Oh, that's
to me,
true.
he's saying, well,
All
we
right.
may not be able
We're
to take
getting
long
political.
flights.
We're
that doesn't
getting
sound,
political.
That doesn't sound like progress. No, I'm just saying if
I'm
you
just-
can't take it for a long
I'm
flight,
just kidding. I just it's amazing. Who cares? I don't like. Yeah, if it gets up in the air, let's go. Let's do it. So
you know, it was funny. I flew on one of these planes. It was massive, just jumbo jet, and I made the comment that it looks like it was a jet that had eaten another jet, and it was one of these that has like 10 rows across, just massive. And the pilot was actually standing there.
What?
Yeah, it was big. The pilot was standing there, and I made the comment to him. I said, "Man, this is a huge jet." He goes, "Yep, sure hope we can get it in the air."
that's a pilot. I think
I'm
all
like, that's a
pilots
pilot
have this,
joke.
Yeah, they probably have all this humor.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it's a good thing I was not, white knuckle scared flyer, but I was like, yeah, let's hope. What's crazy though is that plane was so smooth. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
big, man. It would take turbulence different than some of the smaller jets.
Totally
It kind of
would.
just,
Yeah.
it's a real slow move, instead of more of a. Now, I'm sure it can if you hit some pretty strong turbulence, but it felt completely different than any of the other.
I
planes
always
I've been
wanted
on.
to go on a 2-story one, where
Yeah.
like you actually had
Yeah,
you can
climb up the stairs.
Just like go upstairs.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a big jet though.
It is,
Are those
yeah.
for like long distance overseas type things?
No, they are. However, they're just more load factor, right? What
Yeah.
it would carry. So, a double decker airplane's going to seat a lot more people. So,
And they have a bar. That always looked cool to me. It's like imagine just sitting at a bar, you're in the air. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to switch gears
As
here
a non-pilot, yeah.
in the last few minutes of the show here, and I don't know that I actually mentioned this earlier, but you are actually my neighbor. You live probably.
We're searching real
5
far for our guests.
Well, I just live in a really cool area, so you just happen to be right there. I don't know, maybe 5, 6 houses down. And what I've noticed is you have become a member of a very, very exclusive club in our neighborhood.
Definitely.
Would you like to disclose what this is?
Yeah. So it's the fastest growing sport in America. Low plug for pickleball. And, we live
the
on,
hell?
it's our street name, right? We're the Placid Hill Picklers, right? So we joke, but yeah, we play a lot of pickleball. I've only lived in this area for less than a year now.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And when I moved down, it had still been a few months before I'd even heard the term. And then for Halloween, we dressed up as pickleball players.
Yes.
And
Saw that.
yeah. And
What is a pickleball player dressed like?
I don't know really. I still
Yeah.
haven't learned that, but we had these really goofy shirts, spray paint on there, and
Yeah.
headbands, goofy glasses, short shorts, high socks. The look, right? And but yeah, now we get together almost every week and either play at the courts or we'll play on the street with chalk lines
They
and
put
a
chalk lines
portable
right
net.
across the street, close the street down, put a net.
Isn't there a
in.
net? Okay, there's
Yeah,
net.
they're playing.
Yep. Yeah, we have. Well, I think we have 3 nets between the group.
Oh, so this is just
So-
neighbors being neighbors.
Yeah,
Right
just
there in the
neighbors
middle of
being
the
neighbors.
street. These are
But
adult
it's
men
pretty
closing
serious.
the street down.
Yeah,
playing
we
pickleball.
are essentially closing the street. There have been a few cars that come around, and they will turn around. We won't move the net for them.
What's the HOA think of all this?
No, there's.
Y'all have an HOA? I thought Andrew was going to do something like, you need to remove this tree. I thought that's why he brought you on. He's like, we need to talk about this tree. You're my neighbor. We're trying to get rid of it.
No, but it's funny because I see him playing all the time, and I've never actually played. But last
It looks
week,
fun.
I wandered down there, and I said, all right, guys, show me how to play. And I will admit that the rules did seem as though a 5th grader had just made them up there on the spot.
Isn't
No,
it
it's
just
'cause we are,
Isn't
yes.
it just tennis?
It's like a mix between tennis and
Foursquare?
ping pong, if you will. Maybe Foursquare, a little bit of
little-
Foursquare, right?
yeah, a
There's
little
a little
bit.
bit of cornering
Yeah.
in there, but yeah, it's a great game. It really is
Yeah,
pretty
so
fun.
I looked up the history of it here on Wikipedia, and apparently it was created back in 1965 at the summer home of Joel Pritchard, who actually went on to be a United States congressman and Washington's lieutenant governor. But basically, he was looking for something for his kids to do, and they said, well, let's go get out the badminton net. But they couldn't find the shuttlecock. And so it was like, all right, well, here, we'll use this wiffle ball. Hey, where are the paddles? Well, we can't find paddles. So they just used ping pong paddles. And they started playing it every week and realizing, hey, this is kind of fun, and slowly made up the rules, slowly lowered the net, realized that a wiffle ball can spin and bounce different ways. So they moved it from grass over onto concrete, and the game just slowly grew from
I always
there.
thought it was for people who played tennis but can't physically play tennis anymore.
Well, it's not for that. I think those people are kind of attracted to the game because you don't have to move as much as you would in tennis. But it is pretty.
Oh, you're getting a workout. You're outside.
You're definitely getting a workout. And,
More than
and,
bowling.
And it's just like anything else. There's skill levels, and some guys really get into it. And if you're playing with some skilled people, it can probably be pretty heated.
What's the ball?
There's an actual.
Is it heavy?
It's
ball.
like I think of a wiffle ball, but a little thicker and a little heavier.
Okay.
Or not super heavy.
About the size
but
of a baseball, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
slightly smaller.
Yeah, I always wanted to see that because I was like, when I watched it on television, I was like, is that a weighted ball or is that like a?
It's a thick plastic ball.
Because you see people try to slam it, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like the ball doesn't go that far. So I was like, that's got to be a little weighted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a fun sport.
Tron, our neighbor, said that his paddle was like $200 paddle. I'm like, oh my gosh! So we're missing out on a golden opportunity here.
Is it made out of wood?
Man, I don't know, like a tennis racket would basically. It's
Well,
aluminum.
tennis racket has like wires. Or
Yeah, and then
string.
I don't know what the surface of it is made out
Yeah,
of.
they're
now.
carbon based, or some of them are fiberglass. I
Yeah, there
think.
you go.
So if I came over to Andrews and could we play?
Absolutely.
Do I have to bring like a ball and stuff?
No, we have everything.
All right,
we
cool.
have extra
'Cause
paddles.
I kind of want to try it out.
Come on out.
Yeah, like I said, I did it one time. I'm 1-0. I won my first game. So I'm
He
thinking,
played with the guy we call the professor. He's really smart, and he's the one who teaches everybody. And
Yeah, he's the one that was giving me all the rules and the rundown. He's like, okay, so after the first time, you can only bounce once, then you can hit it. And then the second time, it doesn't have to bounce. But then if it hits in between this line, then you can walk in there.
Oh,
and
we're
hit
totally
it.
making
I'm
it
like,
all up,
I'm
yeah.
like, this is made up on the spot. But whatever. It was fun. I had a
it
good
real?
time.
it's fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
Well, check it out.
It
It's
does have
fun.
real. Yeah.
What else do you do
That's about
besides
it.
being like the
How about-
greatest neighbor?
My dad. I've got 2 little kids, and
Do they want to be pilots?
I think some days my son. He's 4 now. He'll be 5 this summer, but he'll pack his little suitcase and pretend like he's going on a trip. You know,
I like
It's
it.
I'm going on a 3-day trip, Daddy. I'll see you later, and it's really cute and really fun. So, but I don't know. They still have a long time before they have to decide that.
And you're married?
I am, yeah.
What does she do?
She's stay-at-home mom and
Wow.
does homeschool, so she's
Oh, you're a
very busy.
homeschooler. You're
Yeah,
one of
we're
those
homeschooler.
people.
Yeah, we are one of those people.
Those
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Our neighbors are homeschoolers. They have like once a month they have like a huge party. It looks like, but no, it's for homeschooling. It's
Yeah.
like they have a
Get together with all
it's
their
like 30
homeschoolers.
kids. I'm like, what is going on next door? And but yeah, so homeschooling. Didn't we have some? I feel like we talked about homeschooling
You and I on this show? I don't think so.
because I know I've interviewed a bunch of homeschooler people. But
No, doesn't sound familiar anymore.
are you homeschooled?
No, I was not.
Okay.
No.
Because
My
that's
wife
like
neither, but
that's a commitment right there.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
my
is.
wife does a great job with it.
Because I would not be confident enough to teach like anything like math. I'm like I did terrible in school. Like
Yeah, every now and then I have to substitute, and it's like the good substitute was the one who rolled the TV in,
yeah,
right?
It's
Yeah,
like, let's
that's
watch
where I
these
come in.
videos.
Right?
We're gonna watch Days of Our Lives today, kids.
Well, no,
For 6 hours.
Homeschooling, especially during COVID, like boomed. It's
Yeah, it did.
huge now. So
Yeah.
they'll probably have better kids. So
Well, I don't know about that. I'm kidding,
Yeah.
but no,
it's
but
okay to say your
there's-
kids are better than his kids.
there's good programs out there.
Yeah.
There's different schools, if you will, right, that you can get aligned with, and different programs that you can,
Yeah.
curriculum that you can teach off of, and then you can have like different days, like they call them co-ops, right? Where
Well,
they can
I
get
think that's what our
together.
neighbors do. It's
Right,
like because
yeah.
he's a dentist, and I think he teaches science to them.
Yeah.
and anatomy and stuff like
Right.
that. But yeah, it takes a village almost.
It does.
It's a weird network because no one ever knows it existed until you get into it, and you're
Yeah.
like, this is here.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
amazing.
good. And there's a lot of great ways to socialize the kids nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's way different.
The
I
internet,
think, than
right?
Totally, yeah. Just put them on Facebook all day, right?
all day.
That's socialization.
Audience of one. There, that'll rot their brain.
I mean, I can't imagine raising kids right now. You guys are
Yeah, we're
lucky.
brave.
You're lucky and brave at the same
We're brave.
time.
Well, I thought I'd close out the show with this story that I saw, and it kind of reminded me of our neighborhood. It seemed like something that would totally happen and go down with this group of Placid Hill picklers that we have. But this story, I actually saw it several weeks ago, and when I knew that you were going to be on, I decided to hold on to it because I thought this was perfect. But anyways, this guy named Sean McGarry says he found a toilet sitting in his yard back in October. Apparently, some of his neighbors, I don't know if somebody maybe was renovating and they took an old toilet out of their house, or they found an old toilet, but as guys will do, they threw it in his front yard. Okay, well, this guy said, okay, I see you, I'll one-up you, and he decided to leave it there and then begin decorating it for Halloween.
That's fun.
Yeah, and then it got so much attention, he said, well, I'm going to decorate it for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to decorate it for Christmas, and at this time, he was planning on decorating it also for Valentine's Day, so now this is starting to become a thing, and what was a joke on him is now a joke on everybody else. Okay, and so much so that he's now petitioning the HOA to allow him to leave this toilet in his yard.
Why would he need to ask? He's already doing it.
Well, the HOA has come in and said, you need to remove this. And he's like, no, I'm petitioning this. So couldn't you see something like this going down in our neighborhood? Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's going to happen this weekend.
No, I think it's something like, because, a lot of times they'll have rules on you can't have statues or adornments or whatever inside of your lawn.
Airplanes.
And I think that's probably, airplanes. Yeah. That's probably where the rule that they're getting him on is you're not allowed to have any porcelain statues or whatever like that. And he's like, but it doesn't say toilet, though, and technically this is a toilet. Now, I could see...
It's going to be written in now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could see Steven doing this, though. I could totally see Steven putting a toilet in his front yard and sitting on there and drinking a beer and waving at everybody.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, I found that story.
Neighbors.
All right, guys. Well, one last time, we wanted to plug your book, Eric Flies High. Eric Gaffney. You can find it on Amazon. And you said one other location, I think.
I got a square link if I could personalize
Yeah,
them.
just
Sign some.
Yeah, I'm going to get you
to
to sign this for me before you leave.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Yeah, this is great. Well, Eric, this has been fun, man. You're welcome back anytime. And I would say thanks for coming in, and we appreciate it. And I learned a little bit today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right, we're back. We're back. Well, audience of one here with my buddy Andrew. That was a great interview we had with Eric.
Yeah, man,
pilot,
he was great.
The pilot, the one-armed pilot.
The one-armed pilot and the one-armed author. I guess it only takes one arm to do all that stuff, man. It's amazing.
I wonder what else he can do with one arm.
Pickleball.
But yeah, that was a great topic with conversation with them. But now we're getting to the rest of the show, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Before
he had some time constraints. He's a responsible
Yeah.
individual. He has things to do
I
during the
respect
day.
that.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I do want to remind folks, if you want to buy the book, it's a children's book, and there's links below on our stuff, so you can get the book right there.
Absolutely.
So, and if you're hearing stuff in the background, they're clearly doing construction here on Sunday at Conroe Tower. So hopefully they're actually finishing out the building. I'm really excited about that.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like an empty space. It's almost like you play paintball in there or something. Like, what's going on here? Well, yeah, if you go right out here, there's a door, and it's just open, and it's just like the carpet's missing. It's concrete.
Maybe we need to have an audience of one pickleball court set up in there.
I think we could probably
That actually might be pretty slick.
potentially do that.
We can stream it on TikTok, because apparently that's where all the crazy trends go. TikTok. Do you do TikTok? Yeah, you do. I know you do, because you mentioned it before, right?
It's definitely a pastime with my wife and I. Like when we get together, we're tired. We're like, what do you want to watch? I'm like, I don't want to commit to a show. Let's watch some TikTok. So we have an iPad.
Yeah.
That is specifically for TikTok. Like it's shared.
TikTok iPad.
Well, it's our account because she was all obsessed with like, oh, it's the algorithm. It's yours if you do it and so we watch that one together. That account.
Yeah.
So the stuff we get is based off both of us.
Okay.
And it's pretty smart
Yeah.
because it knows my humor very well.
I bet it does.
It's ridiculous. We get some wild videos.
Well, have you had the videos of the Kia boys pop up?
So, no, but I do know what you're talking about. I've heard about it just because it was something that I think Kia had to respond. That's the manufacturer, the car manufacturer, Kia, had to do a response of how it's easy to break into a car.
Yeah, apparently so. And it's not just Kia. I think it's Hyundai as well.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Well, it's got, you remember like that Ford F-150 for like 6-year versions. Like there's some specific year you could literally get into the car with a screwdriver.
No.
Yeah,
But
like-
it sounds like this is what this is. It's
Yeah.
kind of close to
Like
that.
people just you jam a screwdriver in, you're in the car.
Yeah, this is basically all you need is a screwdriver and a USB cord, apparently. But what I'm referring to, I'd never heard of this, but when I was up in Michigan, somebody mentioned the Kia boys. And they were surprised that I had not heard of this. Apparently, this started in Milwaukee and kind of spread around the Midwest a couple of years ago. And it's, of course, a TikTok trend where kids, and I mean kids, we're talking like 11 to 17-year-old, probably mostly boys doing hood rat stuff, right, are stealing Kias and Hyundais because they're easy to steal, and they're basically filming it. But after they steal the cars, what the most disturbing thing is, they're driving like just crazy erratic, as you can imagine
Yeah.
a 12-year-old would do with a stolen car. You know, I mean, I can't imagine doing that. But if I did steal a car, if I was the type of person to steal a car, I imagine I would also drive it erratically.
Yeah, I'd use the handbrake for sure.
The handbrake.
Yeah, you know, certain cars have the handbrake. The little lever.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I've never used that
No, me
unless I
neither.
was parking. But
Right.
if I'm doing Tokyo Drift, dude.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I don't know if you want to show any of the videos.
So I found this one. I'm putting it up for the people on our YouTube and Facebook. So this is a video of people breaking into this car, and
Yeah, these actually look like young adults, but some of the stories I've seen, they're just small children. It says the Kia Boys video spread across social media and led to skyrocketing car thefts in Milwaukee, and that similar trends started popping up around the world. Crazy though. This one video has been viewed over 6 million times. I don't know if that's the video we're looking at, but as you can imagine, all it's doing is encouraging other kids to keep this trend up, and it's extremely dangerous, obviously. But yeah, you're right. Kia had to actually go in and say, or not Kia themselves. Insurance companies, where they said we're not going to be able to insure. They're going to have to change policies on these cars because the amount of theft was so high.
well, it's interesting to me that
Is that still on?
no,
The
I
stream?
took it off.
Okay,
Because
okay.
I couldn't find. I think they're trying to not let people see that because they don't
Oh,
wanna promote
maybe
it.
that might be.
So
why.
I was like, because I thought we had like a 10-minute clip of like a collection of them.
Yeah.
but I couldn't.
they may have scrubbed it.
Yeah, but you know when it's so fascinating, especially in the younger crowd, where they do these challenges. It's kind of like, remember the ice bucket challenge?
I do. At least that one had some sort of.
But I'm saying like it's just funny how things go crazy.
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like
sure.
let's one up each other and
Yeah.
and like the Tide Pod thing was a thing. I can't believe that was a thing.
Wasn't the ice challenge though? Wasn't that for like it was for some.
Yeah, some
It wasn't
disease.
it wasn't ALS. I
something
think
like
maybe.
that, yeah.
So it had a good cause to it.
But
for awareness, obviously we didn't work for us. We can't remember what
well,
the cause
we
was.
remember the
but-
challenge.
yeah,
Well,
we do.
I think what happened was the challenge became
A thing in and of itself.
It wasn't just ASL. It was like, I challenge you and I support this charity.
Yeah,
And so just a
yeah.
random thing. But the Kia thing was fascinating to me because I feel like when the video camera was invented, there's always been that old saying, don't record anything you don't want people to see. And you have these kids who literally are recording
filming themselves
breaking into
Grand
a car.
Theft Auto for crying
Yeah.
out loud. Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? What do you think the next one's going to be?
The
The
Jeep
next fad.
It's going to be like the Jeep rollover challenge. Remember how Jeeps used to have
The roll bars?
Yeah, they have roll bars in them.
Suicide
but
bars?
Yeah. But back, 20 years ago, Jeeps had the propensity to roll.
Yeah.
And I can just see this now going into something where they're like, all right, we're going to steal a Jeep, and we're just going to see if we can get this sucker to roll a few times.
Well, I remember there was another fad, and people can correct me on this in high schools, where people were bringing furniture into bathrooms. And it was like a constant challenge where, like, you go, like, you try to put a chair in there, and, like, people were like, oh, you brought a chair, I'm going to put a desk. And then it's like, oh, you put a desk, I put a globe. And then it's like all of a sudden.
That's actually kind of funny.
Well, yeah,
though.
because people were, the administrations were, like, basically saying no one can go to the bathroom unless they're,
Yeah.
being followed.
Well,
Because,
I do remember this challenge. I guess it was last year where they were going into bathrooms and just destroying, like ripping the
Yes.
sinks off the wall.
Yes.
And I actually saw the remnants of this because
Yeah.
my daughter's in high school. I guess at the time she maybe was in junior high, and we would have to go to these junior highs for her dance competitions. And I'd walk into the bathroom, and there's no soap, and half the sinks are missing. And I'm like, and they got like caution tape around them. I'm going, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's because these little
And they filmed themselves doing this.
Yes, and they filmed, or there'd be a door missing off of one of the, and it's a nice school, so it's not like it's in some state of disrepair. They're tearing it up.
But TikTok is a great way to deliver that. So you could, I mean,
it's a great way to incriminate yourself too. I can't believe these kids don't know this.
What's strange to me, you have kids, I do not, and I think about today about how we communicate is like, especially when I was like, 10 years old, 15 years old, and you're getting some freedoms, and it's like how we communicate. I remember one time I was talking to my niece. She doesn't text, but she chats in Snapchat.
In lieu of a text?
Well, so it's like she doesn't text phone numbers. When she talks to her friends, she's on the chat program.
In lieu of a text, she video chats, essentially.
Yeah. It's really bizarre to me. I was like, so you don't even text them. So if you're like, for the day-to-day conversation, like, oh, we're going to meet for volleyball practice, all that's through Snapchat. Not through, like, normal, what we would consider, like, texting me, hey, I'm here. So that to me is kind of crazy, because now TikTok is probably the same way. And it's just
you know what's funny is that's just a one-time throwaway message. Hey, we're going to meet at the school at 4 o'clock for practice today.
Well, you can.
But all that's got to be saved on a server somewhere, and we're just saving all of this.
And I'd read those if I was Snapchat or TikTok.
You'd be reading everybody's stuff.
I'd be reading everybody's stuff.
Well, you've just now ensured that you're not going to get a job at any of these social media platforms.
Yeah, watch out.
Hire me. I want to watch all your videos. You're such a creep, man.
I like it.
You're such a creep.
Why do you think Elon bought Twitter?
Yeah, so he can go in
there. So
he
can read messages.
Right.
But yeah, I think the TikTok stuff is hilarious to me because
it's hilarious, but this is dangerous.
Oh no, I mean, it's hilarious. It is crazy. It is crazy town.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
one of the videos that you couldn't show, the kids were sitting on the glass with the windows down and they're swerving back and forth. Yeah, but they could fall out.
I don't care.
Man, they don't.
Because what I love about these kind of scenarios,
it's fun to do bad things.
Of course, I'm being tongue in cheek, kind of, funny about it. Is the authorities have no way to respond to it. There's like, yeah, it's an epidemic, or like they're doing it, and then of course they're probably getting busted eventually. They're probably getting in trouble, but you don't see that. You just see the fad.
Right, yeah. Some of them have to be getting in trouble. They have to be.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I saw the numbers earlier of the amount of cars that were stolen. It was ungodly. In 2021, Milwaukee reported 10,476 car thefts. 66% of those were Kias and Hyundais. That's not a coincidence, man. That is massive. It says a manufacturing glitch makes it easy for these cars to be stolen using just a couple of household items. Just Google it. Just Google it and you can figure it out, man. Oh, man.
The car theft world is getting simpler, it seems.
Well, I think these were certain year models. I don't know if these were brand new ones. I think these were like 2008 to 2013 or something. I don't know.
Something about F-150s is like, all of a sudden someone discovered. I'm talking about older cars. Like this isn't like the new F-150s. Like, oh yeah, you have one of those cars that everyone breaks into because it's so easy to break into. I think it was like the F-250s.
That is
so.
Crazy.
It was like those cars are expensive, and everyone's getting their car broken into.
Another one that I heard on TikTok. I think this was TikTok. Apparently, this guy is eating dog food.
But he's filming himself doing it.
Absolutely, he's filming himself do this. I don't know if you heard about this one either.
Okay.
So it said last month, 21-year-old gym bro, Henry Clarisi, maybe that's his name, who goes by the username Henry.fit. So he's one of these gym guys. He earned 2.8 million views after he filmed himself eating dog foods for, quote, the grains. Yeah, dude, you ain't doing it for the grains. You're doing it for the views.
Yeah.
But apparently what this is somebody along the lines looked at the back of the label of this dog food and found out the amount of protein is astronomical. So these gym bros who are trying to get as much protein as they possibly can are saying, hey, I can just eat dog food and get 3 times the amount of protein that I need. Yeah, for the entire day. Of course, the problem is this stuff is not processed in such a way that's supposed to be for human consumption.
So he's literally eating dog food.
Yeah, he's over there showing you, look, this is what can be done. I think he said it was rather disgusting.
Oh, well, no.
But if he's getting 2.8, you see, it looks like he's about to throw up. If you're getting 2.8 million views and ostensibly you're getting paid for this, it's just going to cause other people to do this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all this is.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of the TikTok. People share it and it becomes a thing, and then it's kind of like the meme thing, the phenomenon of a meme. Like what makes a meme? No one really can do it. It just becomes one. You know?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to subject myself to that, I suppose. just for views and likes. Not doing it. He says, I tasted the dried dog food and kibble, and it tasted a little like pieces of rocks. It was not comfortable at all to eat, and it was super hard to bite down
Well, here's
on.
another video.
You think?
I'll pull this up. Now what's happening, like you were saying, is they go to the gym, and people like this guy are walking around with a thing of dog food and handing it out to people. It's like,
They
hey,
seem to be enjoying it.
it's like this-
They don't seem to be having a problem eating that. Oh my God, that's incredible. You know, she just crunch it down, taking a handful. Hey, bro, before you hit this this leg press, take a handful of kibbles. I do think it's funny that it's kibbles of all things, right? It's not even like high-end dog food. Because you know some of that stuff, it's IMs. I guess that's middle of the road. Because some of that stuff gets really expensive. You know, you've got a dog. Some of that expensive dog food is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I would be eating. I think I'm more of like, what is it, the Blue Mountain or whatever. I
Yeah.
think that's more my brand. I don't know that I
well,
could
dog
do.
food does. If you want to talk dog food, I've learned a lot about dog food. So
I think I might be interested in that. I don't know what you mean by you've learned a lot
well,
about
it's
it.
interesting because I never had a dog before, and my family's always had a dog, and we got a dog, and our dog is so much healthier than their dog. And my mom was like, "How is that?" They're sisters,
Right.
so
I
they're
was just
like,
about to say genetics, but you answered
but
that.
they're sisters, and she's like,
Okay.
"How is her coat so shiny?" I was like, "Because we feed her this dog food," and she's like, "That's 3 times as much as our dog food." I'm like, "Yeah, but the stuff she's
look
eating."
at her.
But I'm saying, but I don't know, seriously, and so
She's like an agility dog.
well, it's funny because my mom was like, "Okay, I'll try it," and so she did it, and after about 3 months, the coat was a lot shinier, a lot healthier,
Really?
and she lost like 10 pounds, and it's just dog food, but it's like dog. I mean,
It has
there's
all the probiotics and
well, I don't know if it's fancy dog food. I have no idea.
Collagen
I just know
peptides.
I think it's like $70 a bag,
good grief.
like a big bag, like a.
Man, you got all that radio money. Goodness. I'm doing Alpo. My
What's worth
dog,
it? No, I
she
was
pukes
like-
a few times a week, but
Well,
you know, we love her.
Yeah, she can't go to the restroom.
She's losing hair in spots, but she's all right.
But yeah, there's a whole world of dog food. I was amazed by that because I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, just buy whatever's cheapest. But it's like, no, there's a whole digestive system to it.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Where like literally the coat is shinier. It's creepy.
Yeah,
And I was like, I wonder what kind of food I can eat.
Well,
That,
you imagine, I mean, we've got skin, and there's certain things we eat that can react with our skin and our coat, right? So I don't think it's the same for a dog.
oh, can I tell you something I saw that was crazy?
I will allow it, just this once.
So pharmaceutical ads are everywhere, right? So when you're watching TV, and we're watching the March Madness, and an ad came up for pigment cream for people who were darker, but they have like the white spots.
Yeah.
And so they have this pigment cream, and I'm sitting there going like, what happens if you're like my color, and I use it? Will I get darker? Because it's a weird.
Don't think so.
It
I know
was-
the commercial you're talking about.
It's
It is amazing
weird.
the results they
Well,
get
because
too.
those people have that. I don't know what they call it, but like, it's people who are darker skinned, but they have like huge white areas, and it's like, all right, so I could see that being like something you want to fix or cover up.
Well, there's only one way to try or to
But
find out. It's
I
for you
wonder,
to try
well,
it.
because it made me think of that. Remember Rachel Doziel or whatever? Remember her?
Dozatel or whatever.
If
her
people
name is?
don't know, look her up. It's hilarious. She was a participant in like the NCAAP local chapter.
Yeah, she got up in-
claimed
yeah, she
she's
got high up into the
African-
ranks.
Yeah, she claimed she's African American. Well, it turned out like no, she's 100% Caucasian.
Yeah,
She's just
she
been
did
covering.
white.
She's been putting stuff on her to make her look darker.
Maybe that's what she's been doing.
And did hair treatments and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
But
she
it was
was
a
trying-
long con. It was a long time. It wasn't like she was just doing it for fun. Like no, this is going on for like 20 years or something like that. So I saw that pigment stuff. I was like, oh, I guess Rachel's going to be buying that stuff if that makes you darker.
Oh
But,
man. All right, well, we're going to finish up with this one last story
Yeah.
here. When you were young, did your parents ever tell you, like, don't pop your knuckles, don't crack your
Yeah.
knuckles, that'll lead to arthritis or whatever, and you have those
Is that
kids who
not
just-
true?
I don't know, actually, because
I think it makes sense to me that
it does.
True.
I don't know if it's true or not. I still tell
It
my
creeps
kids.
me out when
I tell
people
my
do
kids
it.
don't do it just
Yeah.
because it can't possibly be good. And then have you ever seen those guys that'll
No, I don't want to
do those things? They'll crack their own neck,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Well, this story caught my eye because apparently there is a man who lost sight after cracking his neck, and he's warning people of the dangers of doing DIY chiropractic sessions at home, like we didn't already need, to be warned. But apparently, he had chronic back pain for years, and so he got into this habit of doing this, and he would mimic some of the professionals that he'd seen. Either he'd been to a chiropractor or
Love
seen it
it.
on TV, yeah. And apparently, he said he had been doing it for 31 years successfully, and then all of a sudden, he ruptured an artery in his neck and it caused him to have a stroke. and he was temporarily blind because of it.
Oh, wow.
So if that won't get you to stop cracking your neck, I don't know what will, man. That's brutal. Can you imagine doing this to the point? Because I'd always heard those urban legends were like, hey, man, did you hear about that bodybuilder who killed himself because he was trying to adjust? That was one of the things we said as a kid. And I'm like, well, no, I didn't hear about that. Well, here's a real life story. He didn't kill himself, but he did rupture an artery in his neck. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where chiropractic is like a weird conversation in general, isn't it? Like, they're not doctors, but they are doctors. And then
yeah, and if you do it, you swear by it. You ever been to a chiropractor?
No.
I have.
Yeah, but it's like, it's weird. Like, you talk to any, like, my wife would be like, no, they're a scam.
Yeah, it's
and that's what I'm saying. It's weird. It's like, well, whatever makes you feel better. But then again, you're paralyzed.
Well, it is weird that first time I got adjusted, I did feel like he was going to break my neck. But I will say afterwards, felt pretty good.
Yeah, it's weird.
It felt pretty nice. I haven't been to one in years. But, yeah, it did seem a little hocus pocus. It's more along those holistic lines.
Well, I think
right?
it's,
it's
all about presentation. Because you have people who are masseuse. Is that right? Is that what they're called, masseuse? It's like, to me, they're basically similar. Like, they're...
It's kind of, along the same lines. A lot of them operate in the same offices.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
We should get one on and call him a liar.
No, I'm not doing that because I want to get some massages or some chiropractic work done.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. But yeah, today was a good show.
Awesome, man.
Thank you to Eric for coming in, the pilot and author. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And yeah, we're leaving. This is it.
This is the real dismount. Until next week, guys. Audience of one. It's been fun.
Yeah. Always don't forget, you can always reach out to us, audienceofoneshow@gmail.com. If you got cool articles for us to cover or funny stories, we'd love to talk about it. So send them our way. That's audienceofoneshow@gmail.com. Or you can message on Facebook, Audience of One. We're here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio and also on podcasts. I think Spotify soon.
Yep, I've signed up for the account. We are on our way.
Yeah, and then Apple, and then, of course, YouTube and Facebook and all that kind of good stuff. So whichever way you like to consume our show, make sure to like, subscribe on those platforms, and let us know what's going on.